Welcome, welcome. Somewhere in your past, there's a name you've never said out loud from a stage or a pulpit or even a dinner table. It's the name of a teacher. Maybe it was a her, maybe it was a him. Maybe it was a choir teacher in a room that smelled like risers and rosin. And the shop teacher who let you rebuild a carburetor at 15. You remember that guy? Hey, everybody, look at my fingers. Or the second grade teacher who put a Post-it on your desk that said, you belong in this class. And it changed the whole rest of your life. You know exactly who I'm talking about because your body knows the name before your mouth does. Most of us have never told them. A lot of us waited too long. Some of us still can. Today, we're going to say the name. Welcome to the Jason Hewlett Show. Yeah, welcome to the show. And coming up on the Jason Hewlett Show, where there's lots of F words: freedom, faith, family, fitness, funny, and farce. We're going to talk about freedom of speech first. We're going to talk about say the name, the teacher who saw you before you saw yourself, and why almost none of us have ever said it back to them. In the full story, it'll be the ode to the teacher, Mrs. Hall and Grandma. 2 women, 2 rooms, 1 line that runs through both. Do you know why we're doing this theme? Well, school is back in session. And so from the Newsfeed, 3,000 new Mrs. Halls. Yeah, Mrs. Hall changed my life. You've heard about her before. We'll talk more about her. Around 3,000 first-year teachers walking into a Utah classroom this fall. How about the collapsing share of men at the front of the room and what the data is really telling us? In Faith and Hope, Rabboni. 1 word. Mary Magdalene at the empty tomb said to the risen Christ, almost nobody notices what it means. Father Time will talk about my lovely wife, as well as the teacher I can't find, and I've been looking for a while. Would love your help to locate him. In Funny Factory, we're going to talk about the Substitute Teacher Cinematic Universe, a tribute to the woman who spent 1 day on a Tuesday running your 5th grade class and never came back. And then the Fitness Minute, the voice that has to last. Yeah, 8 hours of standing, 6 hours of talking, a piece of chalk in the throat does to the human body. Oh my gosh. It's all brought to you by Cardio Miracle. Cardio Miracle sponsors this show every single week. We're grateful for them. And it's the greatest way to get health into your body immediately. So stay with me. This one is a love letter. Post the name of your teacher in the comments. Please join me in this. First and last, if you know it. We're going to read them aloud either this week or next week or whenever you post it. I'm going to talk about it because it's so important to do. Whether they were English or math or science or history, like name them. What did they do for you? We want to shout it from the rooftops. Thanks for joining me. Let's jump into freedom of speech next. The first day is a promise. Name it out loud or it'll happen to you. Good luck on the back to school. Your house this weekend, there's a kid about to start a new grade, wondering if the version of you is going to be there for them. There is a teacher in your past who saw you before you saw yourself. She didn't have a title, a book deal, or a TED Talk. She had a room. A chalkboard, a music stand, an old piano nobody has tuned since the Ford administration. And in that room, she looked at a version of you nobody else in your life had bothered to look at. And she said, with her eyes, in her voice, or on a Post-it note on your desk, you belong here. You are not a problem. You're a person. I see you. You know the one I'm talking about. You're picturing them right now in your mind. A face has walked into your brain. That is who this whole episode is. And here's the strange. Most of us have never said that name aloud from a stage that mattered. Not at a wedding, not at a promotion, not in a book acknowledgement, not at the corporate offsite where we thanked 11 vice presidents and 1 CEO and forgot the woman who taught us in 4th grade that we could stand at the front of the room without shaking. We say the thank you at the funeral. It's too late. But we still say it at least. We drive back to the town we grew up in and we find the name on a program that already has in memoriam next to it. We stand at the back of the chapel, hat in our hand. We say quietly to nobody, I guess I should have told her. Why is that? Why do we save the ode for the eulogy? Why is the letter always in the drawer? Part of it is that a 10-year-old cannot see the shape of the room from the inside. Paul, thanks for joining me. Hey, Jason, Mr. Colette, my video production teacher in high school. Thank you for naming it, Paul. I love that. Yes, part of it is the 10-year-old cannot see the shape of the room from inside, and it takes 15, 20, 30 years for the shape to become visible. And by the time you can see it, we tell ourselves, I'll get to it. Time gets to it first. Part of it is that we think an ode has to be complicated, and it doesn't. A note card fits an entire ode. 6 sentences in a name. First and last, the class. The one thing they did that stuck. Their signature moves that you love. The promises they made and kept. The turn your life took because of them. The words thank you. It fits in a stamp. And part of it is that we are cowards about the tender stuff. We can look a man in the eye and negotiate for $10,000 without blinking. But we can't write, Mrs. Hall, you are why I have a voice at all on a piece of stationery. The hardest sentences are the ones with somebody's name at the top and the truth in the middle. And here's the whole show today in one line. Say the name, just like my man Paul just said. He said, Mr. Colette was instrumental in helping me on my film industry career. Oh my gosh, I love it. These are the people that change our lives. I know you have your teacher. I'm going to talk about mine. Say it while she is here. Say it while he can read it. Say it before you have to say it in past tense. The teacher who saw you first would rather hold one note card in an ordinary Tuesday mail than have 12 people at a funeral tell each other what they wish they'd told her. The card takes 10 minutes. The stamp is $1 and change. The truth is already sitting inside you, fully written, waiting for you to be brave enough to put it on paper. That is the assignment today. And if you can't write a letter, then send an email. Find them on Facebook. But say the name. Reach out. So my question is, whose face walked into your mind in the first minute of this monologue? And when was the last time you said their name in a room where it counted? You know, if the teacher who changed you had to guess right now how you turned out, would they even know? What are you saving for the eulogy that would land harder in a Tuesday mailbox? And what are the 6 sentences you're afraid to write on a note card, and who's the person the card for? Just take the time and do it. If your own kid picks their favorite teacher this year, will you help them write the card, or will you also teach them to wait? Yeah, some of these burn, don't they? Well, that's why we're talking about it. Time to reach out to it. The full story next. Yeah, I want to tell you about 2 rooms when it comes to the full story. One smelled like a piano that had been played every day for 30 years. Wood, felt, old varnish, perfume of a woman who'd been standing at the front of it for many dedicated years. You know that smell. The other room smelled like nativity scenes from around the world and fresh fruit, and whatever a grandma smells like when she has been baking for you her whole life, or your whole life at least. The first room was Mrs. Hall's choir room. Yeah, Mrs. Hall, you've heard me talk about her before. Mrs. Hall did not just teach me to sing. Anybody with a piano and a metronome can teach a kid to sing. Mrs. Hall taught me that a voice was a promise. That when you open your mouth in a room full of other people, you're making a covenant to be honest with the notes. Not hide behind the section next to you, not fake the high ones and pretend you hit it. Stand there in the middle of your own body and be responsible for the sound that came out. I didn't have the language for any of that when I was in her room. I was a kid. What I had was the feeling that this woman was taking a version of me nobody else had bothered to look at, and looking at it on purpose. Let me show you a picture of Mrs. Hall. If you're not listening to this on the replay of the podcast later, there's Mrs. Hall. This is a picture I found online. I have to share it with you because she's so fascinating and such a wonderful gift in my life. Let's see if I can get myself in the screen. There I am. Okay. And so this woman was helping me in so many ways. Mrs. Hall, I wasn't to her the class clown. Not the son of so-and-so. I was the version that could stand in a line of 40 kids and be heard. Every microphone I have ever picked up in my adult life is a Mrs. Hall microphone. Every stage, every keynote, every story in this show. That room is the room with me. I've spoken about Mrs. Hall in this show before, and in fact, hers is the story that is in every single keynote I give and every show I perform. People have heard this story for over a decade, and I can't not tell it. Today I lean into it as the teacher by which all others have been compared in my life, and no one stood out like her for me. And apparently many others too, because for years and decades, people have come up to me after the presentation and tell me how Mrs. Hall also changed their life. Her reach has been exponential. I teach about her teaching to leaders, educators, performers every single time. She had a very unique voice. She was from Wales. She had a voice like this. Jason Hewlett, who's singing in the hall. She was hilarious. I remember one specific day when she was testing my voice. She was challenging me to sing higher, lower, and gasping audibly and visually as I was hitting notes she hadn't seen another boy hit. She was playing the piano and playing scales, and she was going, as I'm hitting these notes. With her eyes wide and a grin, she said, "Young man, you have a voice unlike any I've heard, and you will make a living with it. I will teach you how." Ha! How do you think that made me feel? As a kid, it was like hearing someone say, "Here's the future. You will conquer it. I've got the map. Get in the car." And she became my ultimate teaching mentor. Mrs. Hall, what a blessing in my life. Wow. How about this one? Second room belonged to my grandma, Julie. Her name was Julie Hayes Hewlett, and she married my grandpa, Lester Hewlett, 5 years before his passing. So they had a very short marriage. She was my step-grandma. She made all kinds of a difference in my life. Grandma Julie taught me, or at least she taught school for 40 years. She didn't teach me choir, but she taught thousands in her choir before I was born. She taught me something you can't put on a report card. She taught me that being interested in a kid was not a technique. It was a calling. It was her promise. She looked at every kid, including me, with her whole face. She never asked a question she did not want the answer to. She never said, "Oh, that's nice, honey," while doing something else. No, she never once let a kid finish a story without asking a follow-up. She was absolutely present in every conversation. She was joyful to be around, especially when I began playing her grand piano, and equally she was terrifying when she said, "You play so very well. I can't believe you're self-taught, but must you play it at that volume? I will be deaf now." That's how she taught. She was so funny. She was dramatic, and she was fascinating. As I talk about her, she always had a fan in her hand, blowing her hair back. Music filled her home, along with paintings, love of art, and she had traveled the world with her students. You know, her signature move is what most school teachers have to learn on the job. She had it in her bones. Teach. Always. Fully present with every conversation. She did it for thousands of kids across her career. And then she did it for me at the kitchen table. And then she did it for me the last time I saw her as a grown man, her already tired. She still looked at me with her whole face and asked me a follow-up question. "Can you play a song for me? Just not the loud one." When I first played for her, she was astounded because she said, "Where did you learn that?" I said, "I just figured it out." She said, "You're playing too loud." But she enjoyed the music that I was learning. And I remember playing this song for her that I'm going to play for you now. I'm going to try it out. It's been a long time since I've played this one in public, and I haven't played it without a band for a long time. But I thought I should tell you this story is when I played her this song. It's called "Candle in the Wind" by Elton John, written by Bernie Taupin, the lyrics. And she loved how I played it. She loved how soft it was because all the other songs were too loud. So let's go over to the piano and see if we can do some "Candle in the Wind." The story of Marilyn Monroe, rewritten as Norma Jean, her original name. Yeah, it's a great song, The Candle in the Wind. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you heard it, because sometimes the tech doesn't work great. But I'll tell you, my grandma Julie, she intimidated the heck out of me. She intimidated a lot of people. She taught humanities and choir. And she would take trips to Europe to teach humanities and art and take the kids to the concerts and to art museums. And she had some students that turned out to become very famous. I thought I should share this with you because it's such an awesome story. I only share this when I speak at schools for educators and in teacher trainings and so forth. I get hired a lot by superintendents to teach the entire district how to have a great year and keep the promise. And so these are the guys that my grandma, sounds good. Thanks, Paul. Very appreciate it. My grandma was the teacher of these guys. Have you ever heard of the Piano Guys? Yeah, John Schmidt on the piano and Stephen Sharp Nelson on the cello. These guys have become world famous. They've had over 1 billion hits on YouTube. And they were in choir with my grandma as their teacher. And I remember the first time finding out that while we were performing together, that they knew my grandma, and they said to me, "Wait a minute, you're a Hewlett. Did you know Julie Hewlett?" I said, "Yeah, she's my grandma." They're like, "She was our favorite teacher by far. I don't know if I'd be doing this for a living without her." And I'm like, the Piano Guys? That was pretty cool to learn about my amazing grandma. And I took a video with them and I sent it to her, and she was ecstatic that they would remember her. And I was like, everybody seems to remember you, Grandma. And a couple of years ago, as life has, its way, my sweet grandma, she, of course, passed away. And when she passed away, I remember I got a call from one of my cousins. My cousin said, "Hey, do you think you could call the most famous people that Grandma taught, the Piano Guys, and see if they'd come play at the funeral?" I said, "That's a big ask, and those guys make hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on stage. I don't know what they'll say." But I called Steven on the cello. I said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know my grandma Julie Hewlett just passed away." And his first response was, "When is the funeral? We'll be there." I told him the date. It happened to fall on John Schmidt's birthday, who is the piano guy. And they decided to show up for the funeral. For us, this was the photo that I took of them. Snuck a photo from the front row after I helped them get set up. These guys showed up in a chapel. Like I say, they make millions of dollars doing this. They showed up at a chapel because the teacher that made the difference in their lives was someone they wanted to honor. I'm so grateful for John Schmidt and Stephen Sharp Nelson. These guys are wonderful human beings that they would do this for our family and in my grandma's honor. And obviously, we all have that teacher. Who is yours? This was my grandma Julie. And here's what ties the two rooms together. Mrs. Hall taught me that a voice is a promise. My grandma Julie taught me that attention and encouragement is a promise. I do this show because both of those women taught me the same lesson from different rooms. That when a human being is in front of you, you are making a promise with your face, your voice, your presence, whether you name it or not. The best teachers in the world name it on purpose. And I've got two of them. Not one, two. And some of you got a Mr. instead of a Mrs. Some of you got a coach, a Sunday school teacher, a JV assistant coach, a bus driver who called you by your right name for the first time in your entire life. I don't care what the title was. I care that they made the promise. And I care that you know their name. So here's my ask. And I'm not going to soften it. Post their name in the comments. We've already had Paul do so. I appreciate that, man. And first and last, if you can email them or email them tonight. If you can send a card, send it in the morning. If they're gone, name them here in one sentence. We'll read everything we can on air this week and next. and just to make sure it's on air, but promise to tell their story. Shout it from the rooftops. They deserve to be lauded and known. 2 rooms, 2 women, 1 promise. And somewhere in your past, at least 1 teacher who deserves to hear from you before another Tuesday goes by. Say the name. We're jumping into the newsfeed right after this. All right, from the newsfeed. Before we get into that, I just have to say thanks for the last segment. I think I saw that the Empress Creations said, "Good afternoon, what a sweet segment. Thank you for saying so. That's very nice." And then they also added that Mr. Randy was the sweet professor who taught us to be confident in ourselves. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Yeah, Mr. Randy. Let everybody know who your teacher is and or was. In the newsfeed, story 1. Utah, my home state, welcomes 3,000 rookies this fall. Yeah. The Deseret News reported last week that Utah will welcome approximately 3,000 first-year teachers this coming school year, according to the Utah State Board of Education. A little over half of that number are new college graduates beginning their careers. The rest are career changers, people who left another job to come teach a room full of somebody else's kids. Wow. Ode to the teacher, right? Here is the sentence in that article that stuns me. So they said that every new teacher in Utah is required to have a mentor as they begin their career. I love that. Every one of them. 3,000 mentors. Think about that. Quietly assigned to 3,000 rookies before the first bell begins. That is Utah. Every state is doing some version of it. The math nationwide is a wave. Tens of thousands of first-year teachers walking into a classroom this fall for the first time, and tens of thousands of veterans staying strong, long enough to walk them in as the mentor. Story 2. You know, one of these teachers is somebody's future Mrs. Hall. So sit with the arithmetic for a second. Take one rookie who teaches for 30 years, 25 to 30 kids a year, let's say. That's roughly 800 kids in a career, almost 1,000. Multiply by 3,000 rookie teachers in Utah alone. That is 2.5 million kid-teacher relationships beginning this fall, just from this Utah's class. Somebody in that 2.5 million is a 4th grade boy who's about to meet the woman and teacher whose name he'll be saying and telling everyone about in 2065. Somewhere in there is a girl about to meet the man who teaches her to stand at the front of a room without shaking as that great teacher. The rookie has already been assigned. The kid's already been sorted. The story has already begun. In story 3, the men are missing. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, and the most recent year was from 2021, only 23% of U.S. public school teachers are men. 77% are women. I'm stunned by that number. I wonder how different it is in 2026. Couldn't find that number. But at the elementary level, it's worse. Only 11% of elementary teachers are men. 11%. Pew Research put it clean. 89% of elementary school teachers are women. At pre-K and kindergarten, fewer than 3% of teachers are men. Yeah, I've noticed this whenever I speak to teachers. The trend is downhill. The share of men in K through 12 teaching has fallen from 30% in 1988 when I was in school. I was 10 years old back then, to 23% today. 30 to 23%. That's slow motion disappearance. So, in story 4, what the numbers mean for the ode. If you're a man watching this, and a lot of you are, the teacher who saw you first was almost certainly a woman. 9 out of 10 of your elementary teachers were. That's how mine were. And the rare male teacher you had, maybe it was the coach or the shop teacher or the band director. For me, it was the 3rd grade Mr. O'Laughlin teacher. He was my favorite teacher in elementary. Was rarer than you knew. And probably more important than you realized. You're watching a version of manhood at the front of a classroom that most American boys barely get to see. So say her name, say his name too. Don't let the statistical rarity of the male teacher in your life be the reason you never told him what he did. And to the 3,000 rookies walking into a Utah classroom this fall, you are amazing. You're going to do great. You're going to keep the promise by sharing your signature moves as only you can. And I admire you and thank you for teaching. You are a gift to our families. And somebody's grandkid is going to be saying your name in 2075. Keep the promise. We will name you when we can. We're going to go into faith and hope right after this. Okay, we're in Faith and Hope here. I've got my Bible out. The King James Version is where we're going to go. And we're going to be talking about something very special today. I hope that you're ready for this one because there is a word in the New Testament, King James Version of the Bible, that shows up exactly one time. Yeah, the whole Bible. It's spoken by somebody who has been broken and is about to be restored. The word is Rabboni. Have you heard that word before? Rabboni. So let's go to the empty tomb, right? 3 days after the crucifixion, this terrible world-changing event that happened, and we see the crucifixion of the Savior. And 3 days later, what happens? Well, we know the story. It's Easter morning, and Mary Magdalene is standing in a garden. And she's crying. She's thinking that she is talking to a gardener. And a voice she recognizes says her name, Mary. And she turns, and the whole world turns with her. And the first word out of her mouth to the risen Christ is not Lord. It's not Savior. It's not my God. It's an Aramaic word, Rabboni, which John the writer stops the whole narrative to translate for us in the middle of the verse, which is to say, Master. It says this in John 20, verse 16. Jesus saith unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Now, if you look at the footnote says, verse 16, Master is teacher. I think that's pretty special. When it comes to the great teacher, John, the writer, of course, stops the whole narrative to translate for us in the middle of the verse, which is to say Master. And if you check the actual translation, it says teacher. So sit with that. The most important morning in the history of Christianity, the tomb is empty, the whole faith turns on a hinge, and the very first word from the first witness is teacher. It's awesome. Here's what your Bible probably will not tell you in a footnote. Rabboni is not just rabbi, it's more intimate than rabbi. Rabbi meant my master. Rabboni meant my great teacher or my own dear teacher. Ancient Jewish tradition held it was a title reserved for only 7 of the greatest teachers in history. It was the word you used when there was one specific person in your life whose teaching had rewritten who you were. Mary had a lot of names she could have used at that moment. She used the one that meant, you are the one who taught me. I want you to feel that. Yes, the resurrection is about victory over death. Yeah, the tomb is empty. It's a miracle. Yes, salvation. But the first way one broken human being names the risen Christ is not by any of the titles the stained glass window would predict. She names him by his teaching. Miracles, the healings, the parables, the mercy, all of it summed in one word. You are the one who taught me who I am. That may be one of the most powerful things you can call another human being, and it is the most powerful thing a great teacher will ever be called back. Not sir, not ma'am, not thanks, but you are the one who taught me who I am. Here's the challenge. If Mary, traumatized, exhausted, weeping in a garden at dawn, can pull the word out of the deepest place in her and use teacher as the first name of the resurrected Lord, we can pull the same word out for the woman who taught us to sing, the man who taught us to add, grandma who taught us to sit still, We can find the note card and write the word teacher on it before her name. We can put a stamp on it. We can send it. Say the name. Use the word. Somebody in your life was your Rabboni once. Tell her while she's here. We're going into Father Time right after this. All right, in Father Time, I want to talk to you a little bit about the teacher I watched Tammy become. Tammy's a teacher of one kind or another every single day, at home, in the community, and at church. But here's what I love about her. She is my beautiful bride, my amazing wife. And I remember the first time watching her teach. You see, she was a missionary for our church in Honduras for a year and a half. She learned Spanish. She almost died multiple times. She got malaria as well as dengue fever. That did not stop her from still staying there and teaching every single day. She made the difference in so many people's lives, and she's a master at teaching. When I married her, I realized what a master of full teacher she is, because watching her raise our children, there's nothing more beautiful that I've seen. She's the ultimate parent. She knows how to do it and right and well. But her secret weapon is her presence. She's fully present. When she laughs, she throws her head back. She knows how to live life well. And she lives it better than anyone I've ever observed or been around. And I'm so grateful for her. She's changed my life as the teacher she is for me. She's taught me so much about how to think, how to make decisions, how to be a better dad, how to be a business person. She supports me in all of my endeavors. And I'm just fascinated with my beautiful wife. And we now have kids that are going on their missions. If you follow me, you know that we have very soon 3 of our children, of the 4, 3 of them will be overseas and gone for 2 years. 3 years in total. It's a bummer to lose all our kids at once, but it's a great blessing. I can tell you this, my wife has been a teacher of Sunday school kids when they're little. And watching her teach kids that are 5 years old about Jesus is a wonderful experience. She gets them interactive and engaged and interested. I just sit there and marvel because I can't teach kids like that, not to her level. And then, of course, young women. She's taught the young women for years. She's been the camp director where they go off into the woods for a week, and she has to plan everything with a couple of other ladies, and they always need Tammy because she's so good at it. Her latest calling is with the Relief Society. The Relief Society is the oldest women's organization in the world. And it's a part of our church where women get to come together and support one another. And she's in charge of the activities. And so the other night I got to be her helper. And I went to, let me just say thank you to Empress Creations. Your kids sound sweet and kind. Speaks a lot of how you and your wife became good parents too. That's very kind of you to say thank you. Yeah, the kids have turned out incredible. They continue to amaze us. We're so thankful for that. And I believe it's from their mother, so no doubt. But last week, or 2 days ago, I saw my wife running this event. And it was a thing where they had to come up with 25 items that they could share with each other. And, you don't know if somebody's going to show up with a cookie or he's going to spend 12 hours making a bag, right? And so it's kind of an interesting concept, but I helped her load in and we set some things up. And every woman I talked to said, you know how astounding your wife is. You know how good she is at this. And I said, I know. And they said, we couldn't do this without her. That's cool to hear. She's a great teacher. She's a great doer. She's an incredible human. And as I talk today about not only within Father Time, but also about great teachers, I do have to share about a teacher I mentioned earlier. I want you to think about the one you wished you could have thanked. Who is that person? I've had great teachers, and I've thanked all of them in written form or publicly or other places. This guy, I can't find him. He was my 3rd grade teacher. His name was Mr. O'Laughlin, Mike O'Laughlin. I don't know where he went. I don't know what happened to him. I can't find him. I'm curious if out there somebody knows who he is. He should probably be in his late 60s or 70s by now. I don't know. He's I'm almost 50, and when I was in third grade, he was probably in his 20s. So if you know where he is, please let him know I appreciate that he was the first one to acknowledge that my gifts were okay. He was the one that said, hey, don't do that in the middle of class because it's distracting anyone. What I need you to realize is you're the leader. I said, I'm not a leader. He said, yeah, you're the leader. Like, you're making class crazy, or you can be quiet and everybody listens. So I need you to just help me. If you'll be good for the class day, I'll give you time at the end to perform. And after about 2 months of trying, I finally got my chance. I got up on the front of the classroom. He said, Jason, you've been great. Perform for us. So I went up front and I did all my impressions of Pee Wee Herman. Ha, la, la, la. And he's like, okay, what else do you got? And I was like, horses, or cows, or cats, and he was like, everybody laughed. He thought it was crazy fun. I got to do that a few times. He changed my life. He was the first one to let me have the mic, if you will. Mr. O'Laughlin. I can't find him. If you know who he is or where he is, tell him I'm looking for him. I want to say thank you. But that's also the point of this show. Name that person. Say their name. Thank them. Try to find them. Let them know how you feel. My friends, you know what? If you had them in front of you right now for 2 minutes, what would you say? I mean, say it now in the empty room to the camera or to the audience so everyone can feel it. The name goes into the air. That counts. So this whole show is about saying the name of the teacher you saw and who saw you before you saw yourself. Father Time is where you say yours, and out loud on camera, I want you to know I appreciate very much that I get to talk about my sweet family. I hope that you'll turn on your camera and share who the person is that are the great teachers in your life. Funny Factory, right after this. All right, we just spent 40 minutes. Yeah, we're at 40 already. I tried to do this in 45. We're going to go a little over today. 40 minutes on the teachers who shaped you. I want to spend 3 minutes on the ones who survived you. We're going to try to make you laugh a little. I'm talking, of course, about the substitute teacher. Oh, substitute. The unsung, underpaid, overcaffeinated, $38 a day heroes of American education. The people who showed up one Tuesday because Mrs. Hall had strep throat and left 12 hours later swearing they were going into selling insurance and would never return to sub again with the classroom of brats like you were. So the substitute teacher is not a person. The substitute teacher is a genre. Type 1 is this. The retired guy who is in the Marines. He walks in at 7:58 a.m. He's wearing a tie that has not been in fashion since the Reagan administration. His name is Mr. Kowalski. And he tells you this exactly once. He does not know the lesson plan. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about a lesson. He does not know what a fluency chart is. He's deeply suspicious of the fact that your teacher has one. In his class today, you'll be doing silent reading. You will not at any point ask him a question because he's already told you what silent reading is. He'll read a Tom Clancy novel at the front of the room for 6 hours straight. And at 3:15, he'll stand up and say, dismissed, and walk out of the building faster than any of us. He is a legend. Give him the day. Type 2, substitute teacher. The college student who thinks she's going to change your life. Oh, this one. She walks in at 8 with a lanyard, a canvas tote, a smile that has not yet been broken by the American school system. She wants to know your pronouns. She wants to know your pronouns. She wants to do a check-in. She has icebreakers, and she's printed out a poem. Well, by 9:15, she's lost the class. By 10:30, she's crying in the hallway. By 12:15, she's texting her mom. She's going to go to law school now. So she was our substitute one Tuesday. We never saw her again. Wherever you are, I am sorry. It was my fault. I should have been nicer. Type 3, the substitute who is also a full-time Uber driver. Yeah, he arrives 40 minutes late in a Toyota Camry with check engine light on already. He walks in holding a large Diet Coke and a phone still queued to the passenger drop-off screen. He does not introduce himself. He just puts on a movie. Of course, it's Free Willy, because why wouldn't it be? We all want to see the whale jump over somebody. Nobody at this school has requested Free Willy since 96, but here we are. The volume's at 7. He's not watching Free Willy. He's on his phone talking to the next ride. And at the end of the day, the classroom smells vaguely like air freshener he stole from his own dashboard. God bless him. He's running 2 jobs. Don't tell on him ever. Here's the truth. Substitute teachers do not get thanked. They do not get remembered generally. They do not get named in an ode like today's episode. But somewhere between Free Willy and the Marine and the college student in tears, somebody in every district in America shows up for $38 and keeps the school from burning down for one Tuesday. That is a promise too. That promise counts. Tip your subs. God bless the substitute teacher. We're going to wrap it up with the Fitness Minute right after this. All right, I want to end today on a piece of the teacher's body nobody thinks about until it breaks. The voice. Yeah. You thought about it lately? A teacher stands for like 6 to 7 hours a day, talks for at least 4 to 5 hours, talks over a classroom of 28 kids developmentally incapable of being quiet, and talks through a cold, talks around a sore throat, loses her voice by Halloween every year and keeps teaching anyway. Kids, put down your assignment. We're going to stand up, and I want everyone to talk in my place. The teacher's voice is an athletic instrument. Your voice is an athletic instrument. Choir teachers know this. Coaches on the sideline in November know this. When it goes, the whole classroom slows down. When it holds, everything else follows. And Empress Creation says, man, I love this episode. My mother is a public school teacher. It's a vocation for her. Yes, I love it. Thank your mother for from all of us for being a teacher. And Paul looks like we got a laugh face. Thanks for the emoji. So here's the 2-week tune-up for the teacher's body because school has just started. Honestly, for any parent, coach, or pastor walking into a 9-month sprint, this is what you need to know. Number 1, hydrate on purpose all day. If you ever notice, between each segment, I'm taking a swig of my water all day. Vocal folds don't work dry. Water bottle. Here's my water bottle. You know what? It says my logo on here. That's kind of cool. It also says The Promise. Snazzy. Yeah. Keep your water bottle. Water bottle at the desk is professional equipment. 2, you need to move. I mean, I know you're standing in front of the classroom, but you need to at least move 10 minutes in the morning before you talk to anybody. Warm the body up before the day does. If you can just go for a walk even around the block, just get your body moving. And 3, you know what I'm going to say if you've been watching or listening to this show, take Cardio Miracle every day. Yeah, especially now. Cardio Miracle, if you're not familiar with it, is the world's finest nitric oxide and vitamin D3 supplement. Yeah, it's got 58 natural ingredients in it. It creates nitric oxide. It releases nitric oxide in your body, which dilutes the blood or dilates the blood vessels to get oxygen to the brain and to the vocal folds. And it keeps you from crashing at 2:15 in the afternoon. And you still have 3 more classes to teach. So when you think about blood flow is important for your throat. Blood flow is important for your feet if you're standing all day. Blood flow is important for your brain so you know exactly what to say. Cardio Miracle, if you want to try it, I hope you'll check out this QR code. It's very simple. CardioMiracle.com. We'll put it in the show notes. This is exactly what a teacher, a parent, anybody who stands and talks for a living needs walking into a 9-month sprint. You need to try some Cardio Miracle. I take it every day. Tammy takes it every day. My kids are requesting it on their missions because they know how much it helps. My dad takes it every day, and he's the formulator of it. So it's obviously a family business. Here's what I want you to know. You can order it, and there's a 60-day trial. If you don't like it, just send it back. We hardly get any of them back because people see such a difference so quick. If you don't feel a difference, send it back. But Mrs. Hall taught me that a voice is a promise. The voice has to last long enough to keep the promise. So take care of the vehicle. Oh, Paul says, I actually love Cardio Miracle. I've been drinking it like 6 years. Don't go a day without it. Paul, you're a stud. Thanks for the testimonial. You know what? I think if more people were able to share with us how much Cardio Miracles helped them, I think more would get on it. What did you say? It looks like you said something about your sister. My sister Allison's been teaching for so long. Grateful she's dedicated so many years to young children. Yes. Thank your sister Allison for us, Paul. Thank you for your awesome comments and engaging here. Hey, I just threw the Cardio Miracle. All you have to do is take it, you rip it open, you put it in your water, shake it up, drink it, change your life. The voice has to last long enough to keep your promise. So take care of that vehicle. There is a room full of kids counting on it to still be there in April. Let's bring it home. So we started tonight with a name most of us never said out loud from a stage that mattered, and we spent freedom of speech on the teacher who saw you before you saw yourself. And the note card that fits an entire ode in 6 sentences, please write it and send it. We told the full story of 2 rooms, Mrs. Hall's choir room and my grandma's classroom, and the one line that ran through both. A voice is a promise. Attention is a promise. 2 teachers, 2 women, same show. We looked at the numbers. 3,000 rookie teachers walking into a Utah classroom this fall, half of them fresh out of college, a mentor assigned to every single one, and a slow generation-long collapse of men at the front of the room. Come on, guys. We need more male teachers, 11% in elementary, 3% in kindergarten. Come on. The odds are that your Mrs. Hall was a woman, but if you had a Mr., he was rarer than you knew. And we open the New Testament to a word that shows up exactly one time, spoken by somebody broken and restored, Rabboni. My teacher. The first word out of Mary Magdalene's mouth to the risen Christ, not Lord, not Savior, but teacher. Somebody in your life is your Rabboni. And Father Time, I got to share about my beautiful wife, Tammy, what makes her amazing, as well as I'm trying to find Mr. O'Laughlin. If you know where he is, let me know. And in the Funny Factory, okay, we talked about the substitute teacher cinematic universe. Thank you for watching the show. Glad you watched the show, Empress Creations. We appreciate you being here, and to everybody, we are so thankful. In the Fitness Minute, we wrapped with the voice that has to last in Cardio Miracle. It's the vehicle that has to keep the promise, that voice. Here's the show in one line, my friends. Say the name. Person you're picturing right now, the teacher whose face walked into your mind in the first minute of this monologue deserves to hear it, not at a funeral, not in an acknowledgement page. Now, this week, on a note card, in a comment on this show. Send them an email, find them on Facebook, do whatever you have to do, but post the name. First and last. They're still here. Tell them out loud when they can hear it. If they're gone, say the name for them. And we'll read all the ones that we get over the next week. That is your ode, and that is your assignment, and that is your promise. My friends, thanks for joining us. We went a little long today, but I hope you enjoyed it. Added some cool pieces today. I hope you had a good time. I'm Jason Hewlett. This has been The Jason Hewlett Show. See you next Thursday. Till then, keep the promise.